What if I told you there was once a festival where millions gathered not to worship gods of life but to celebrate death itself? A place where ashes were sacred, bodies were burned in the open, and bathing in a river mixed with the dust of the dead was believed to grant immortality. This isn't a horror tale or an apocalyptic ritual. It's the origin story of one of India's most sacred and ancient gatherings, the Kumbh Mela. Picture yourself in medieval India, perhaps the 12th or 13th century. The air smells of wood smoke and sandalwood. Monks chant by the riverbanks. The sun glares upon a vast landscape filled with tents, elephants, and pilgrims from kingdoms you've never heard of. People have walked for weeks, sometimes barefoot, from deserts, jungles, and snow-covered mountains, all to reach a sacred river where the line between life and death seems to blur. You wouldn't survive a day without preparation. The air is thick with dust, disease spreads quickly, and the crowd's sheer size is overwhelming. Yet every year they come. And here's the strange part. This wasn't just a festival of worship. In the medieval imagination, to come here was to be reborn through death. The Kumbh Mela wasn't only about taking a holy dip, it was about confronting mortality itself. But how did this bizarre idea that death could be a celebration take root in the heart of Indian civilization? To understand the Mela's strange connection to death, we need to step into the world of myth. According to Hindu cosmology, gods and demons once fought over a single pot, a kumbh, that held the nectar of immortality. As they wrestled across the skies, drops of this nectar fell onto 4 sacred rivers: the Ganga at Haridwar, the Yamuna at Prayag, the Godavari at Nashik, and the Shipra at Ujjain. Each drop was said to carry a fragment of eternal life. So when pilgrims gather for the Kumbh Mela, they're not just bathing in water, they're immersing themselves in the mythic memory of immortality. But in medieval times, this search for immortality took a darker and more philosophical turn. For the sages and ascetics who roamed the dusty ghats, immortality wasn't about living forever. It was about embracing death so completely that it lost its power over you. Imagine this. On the edge of the great festival, where the crowds thin and the air grows still, a group of men sit cross-legged around a fire. They wear no clothes. Their skin is smeared with ash from human cremations. Skulls hang from their necks like ornaments. These are the Aghori SADHUs, the most feared and misunderstood mystics of medieval India. To them, the cremation ground was not a place of horror. It was a classroom, a reminder that death is the only truth. They meditated among the ashes, believing that only by confronting decay could one see beyond illusion. This philosophy, called Shava Sadhana, or the practice of the corpse, taught that every attachment, every fear, every desire must burn away, just like a body on a pyre. And strangely enough, this idea wasn't seen as morbid, it was liberating. For in the Middle Ages, when plague, famine, and war were everyday realities, death wasn't an exception. It was a neighbor. The Aghoris simply made friends with it. At the Kumbh Mela, cremation wasn't hidden. It was woven into the rhythm of the event. Fires burned continuously at the edges of the ghats. Families brought the ashes of their loved ones to immerse in the sacred waters, believing it ensured their soul's release. In the distance, the chanting of monks merged with the crackle of flames. The living and the dead coexisted in a strange harmony. It might sound eerie, but to medieval minds it was an act of cosmic balance. Life could not exist without death, and bathing in a river mingled with the remnants of mortality was seen as purifying. In medieval times, people genuinely believed that confronting the impermanent was the only path to the eternal. And so the Kumbh became more than a pilgrimage. It became a mirror reflecting the fragility of existence. Imagine walking through the bustling heart of a medieval Kumbh Mela. Merchants hawk amulets and saffron robes. Snake charmers play haunting tunes beside ascetics covered in ashes. Soldiers guard the tents of kings who've come to earn merit for their souls. You pass by foreign travelers, Persian chroniclers, Chinese monks and Arab traders, each describing this gathering as both sacred and chaotic. For a few days, forgotten kingdoms and strange laws dissolve into a single tide of humanity. A medieval Persian text even noted how, during these festivals, caste boundaries blurred. A beggar could stand shoulder to shoulder with a prince, and both were equal before the river. It was a social world turned upside down, a fleeting democracy of dust and devotion. But beneath the surface of celebration, the philosophy that bound it all together was something deeply profound and deeply strange. At the heart of this celebration lay a quiet truth. Everything passes. The cremation fire, the holy water, even the body itself. Nothing lasts. Indian philosophy calls this anitya, impermanence. In the medieval worldview, this wasn't something to mourn. It was something to embrace. Because if nothing is permanent, then even suffering cannot endure. So the Kumbh Mela, with all its noise and color, its ashes and chants, became a meditation in motion, a living lesson in how to die before dying. As one 14th century sage wrote, to bathe in the river is to wash away the illusion of time itself. The pilgrims may have believed they were seeking immortality, but in truth, they were learning how to let go. What's most astonishing is that this ancient festival still exists. The Kumbh Mela continues today, with millions gathering every few years, echoing the rhythms of medieval times. The cremation grounds still smoke on the river's edge. The Aghoris still walk among the pilgrims, their eyes calm, their laughter quiet. And somewhere in the crowd, the same eternal question lingers. What does it mean to live, knowing you must die? It's a question that haunted kings and saints and still hums beneath the surface of every modern gathering. And maybe, in that question, lies the secret to why this bizarre medieval festival never vanished. Because celebrating death, in the Indian imagination, was never about the end. It was about realizing that nothing truly ends. So next time you see images of the Kumbh Mela, the sea of people, the chanting sadhus, the flickering pyres, remember that beneath the spectacle lies one of humanity as oldest and strangest philosophies. That life's greatest festival begins when we stop fearing death. In the end, the Kumbh is not about escaping mortality, it's about dancing with it. Because in the world of medieval India, to celebrate death was simply another way of celebrating life.